Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, Tom and I are going to be talking about how to get your social media marketing agency deal over the line with the client that you're negotiating with. So what I mean by this is when it's a really common thing, isn't it, mate? It's like you get a verbal agreement from a client. That's typically not the end of it. That's not like very few times do you just send the contract and the invoice, it gets paid. Usually there's a little dance you have to do after that kind of verbal agreement happens. So like what do you do? What levers do you have to pull to eventually get that deal over the line and like what's holding them back?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think you have to ask yourself, like, what is the reasons why someone wouldn't, if they said yes all the way through, right? When you do your presentation or the pitch or whatever people want to call it, it should be just an open discussion, but that's for another video. What would the reasons be that they wouldn't do it with you? And normally, nine times out of ten, there's a fear, isn't there? There's a
Yep.
fear.
And
So
that fear is around trust, I would say, that you are who you say you are, you can do what you say you can do, and
yeah,
everything you've told them is legit.
yeah, agreed. So I always the advice I always give people, and it's the same with our team, is we need to establish what is it that is stopping them from actually taking action and doing this. And we've even had cases, and this is actually more often than not, where we've had a verbal yes, and then we have a second meeting lined up to talk strategy, to and in between strategy and that meeting, we've sent through a contract. We've sent through um, more information and we've kept in contact. We've probably created a Slack channel and we've really gone quite far down the line here. And yet that contract hasn't been signed and that first month's payment, retainer payment, hasn't been signed. So therefore they're still a stranger and they're not on our books yet. And that has delayed and delayed and delayed. And in some cases we've had it where they've fallen off. They haven't signed with us, that they've disappeared. And I think what we've learned from that, mate, is it's common. It's really common, but it is more often than not your fault, like our fault. There's things we should do to stop that happening.
Yep. I think that, yeah, I think it goes back all the way to the start, mate. I've done quite a lot of analysis on this in terms of the the sales process and what type of client particular sales processes lead to. Like I remember we spoke not so long ago about clients where we cold call them on day one, we have the meeting the next day, and they're closed and signed the day after. Typically, are quite a bad client to have because they've rushed into the decision.
Yeah, they're a bad client to have. They tend to be a bit of a red flag,
Yeah.
and it's super rare that that happens.
It is really super rare. But I think everything that happens in your sales process impacts the way someone makes a decision. So when stuff does happen really quickly, and then you send them a contract and stuff, and then you find that they've ghosted, typically the ones that are sorry to go back, typically the ones that ghost you when you've got a verbal decision are the ones that have made that decision really quickly. And typically that's because they're almost pulling back a little bit and delaying that decision making process because they just want to make sure it's right for them. Because
Yeah,
sometimes they rush, you almost do such a good job at convincing them that they then just hold them back. Also, I think um, when people are ghosting you, I think it's not always they're doing it because they don't want to work with you. I strongly believe that. Like, I think lots of times there's so much stuff going on in their life in a business that sometimes they just have to delay that decision making with you. But going back to your question, mate, about how to build that trust, I think every client, you have to remember every client wants and needs to see different things to feel comfortable making the decision. And it's just pinpointing where that fear is. Like, is the fear of is the fear that you can't get results? So therefore you need to put them in contact with, someone that you've got results for. Like set up a phone call between the two of them. We do that a fucking lot, mate, and that really helps them feel comfortable making the decision. Is the fear that it's going to take up way too much of their time dealing with all of these leads? Then you need to combat that with a second call. Like, I think it's all about diagnosing where their fear is and then diagnosing it, but also being understanding of the fact that it is an investment that they're putting faith into you. So it's not always as simple as right, they're just ghosting me. It might mean that you just need to get them on another call and showcase the strategy again and just build a bit more of a relationship with them.
I think also it's worth like the amount of people, dentists, aesthetic providers, clinic owners, the amount of people that our team and we speak to, because we do speak to these people, like we're front end stuff still, mate, me and you, where they say, I want to talk it through with
Yeah.
this is a fucking massive issue,
Yeah.
huge issue. So you have a dentist, principal dentist, they are the owner of the whole practice, right? Surely they are the ones that go, yes, but actually they're not, because any owner of any business, as me and you are, I would never make a decision on my business without the authority and the approval of Harry, and vice versa. So therefore, what happens is they get hyped up, their emotions spike because they like what you're saying, they like you, they like the system that you're going to put into play in terms of marketing, the growth plan, the expected outcome, they love the case studies, they love everything that you've talked about, right? I need to talk it through with my husband. I need to talk it through with my wife. Okay, so what happens is they go home, they get the coffee out, or they get a glass of wine after a really fucking long day of dealing with shitty people. They come home, dinner's in the oven, and they are sat around watching Netflix, or as dinner is cooking, they're having a little discussion about a lovely conversation they've had with a marketing company in London, right? Well, how much are they, love? Well, they're 1,500 a month for 6 months, and I've got to spend ad spend on top, and they want 2 grand a month ad spend. Okay, so you're saying that it's 3.5 grand a month for 6 months? Yes. Well, that seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but they are going to get clients in for me. They bring in leads. They got a particular way of doing it. They run ads, and they're like video ads, so they're good ads, and they have like something called a landing page or something. I couldn't really keep up with it because it was confusing. You can see how this now is unraveling. So on face value, if someone goes, yeah, someone pitched me and they want 15 grand for 6 months, and they're going to bring in some leads to me. Well, how are we going to break even? I don't know. They haven't made any guarantees. Well, it's a bit expensive, babe. Yeah, I know. Well, I think let's do some shopping around and just do our due diligence and see what we're doing. They've gone.
Yeah. It's the prime. We see it all the time, mate.
That is a real life problem.
And we call it out now. When people say, and you have to call it out. When someone says, oh, what's the objection? You isolate the objection to overcome it, like standard sales mechanisms. And they say, I'll
Yeah.
just talk it through with my husband. We literally tell them, right, please, for the love of God, get him on a call with us so we can present the strategy to him as well. You cannot trust, I don't care how adept they are with marketing, they might have been in marketing fucking 50 years. They're never going to be able to explain that strategy well enough. And like most men in general, let alone men in relationships, like if my girlfriend, my partner came home to me and said, spoke to these two lads that I've never met who rang me the other day, they want, like you've just said, that they want thousands of pounds, I would be like, absolutely not. What are you doing? That's too big of a risk, especially to if my partner had a business, which most of these businesses are, they don't really know their numbers. Then they're not really that, business orientated. Your walls would just go up and go, absolutely not. It's a terrible decision. And then they run away and go, and then when you call them, they go, oh, I thought about it. It's just not the right time. Well, it is
Yeah.
the right time. You've just not explained it well. And people have planted so much fear in your brain because to them, you saying no to this is such an easier option than you saying yes to it and then having to deal with what comes with you wasting 15 grand and dealing with an unhappy partner.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So
Big problem.
yeah, so you almost have to have a strategy of how you're gonna convince the other people in their life that this is a good decision.
I would say every client that we've got involved in the sales process on, there's always that second element of outside influence on decision making, and it's a problem. We tackle it now because some people probably think, well, how do you deal with it? Like just Harry just said, like we ask to get them on a second call. Let's discuss it with your wife because actually we understand it all. Husband, it's really important that everyone's on the same page. So we've got a version of what we've just delivered to you, but we can deliver to them. It's really exciting, and they
And that's
will see
Mate,
it.
and that's quite scary for a beginner because what what we know it better so well, mate. Like this husband isn't always a bubbly, friendly character like the wife is when you speak to them. He'll get on there and he'll try and tear you to pieces. And if
Yeah.
unless you know your shit, he will find a hole in what you're saying, which is why if you're doing these ridiculous guarantees, he'll find a fucking hole in it because all it takes is him to go, right, so, where's the catch here, guys? Just show me your small print. You show him the small print, and he turns to his wife and goes, you see this? This guarantees fucking means diddly squat because you've got to do all these things which you don't have. And then you
Yeah.
look like an idiot. Or if you're lying about case studies and testimonials, if you're lying about anything, you will get found out. And again, this is for this only comes with the clients where you're going to be charging 1,500 quid, two grand a month, or like for e-commerce brands, for example. You need to know your shit and you will get called out. You really will.
Yeah, and it's a real problem. And I think even that being said, the only things you can do when your clients aren't coming back to you, or you think to get that, because this video is about how you get that deal over the line, you have to present the information to the powers that be. And it could be that this takes a few different meetings to get it done. And it could be the husband and the wife, could be the partner, the business partner, whatever it might be. Really key. I think you've got to keep communication really high. I would take it off email and get it to WhatsApp or SMS. So you're continually talking to them. So you can then implement voice notes as part of that. You can't send a voice note via an email. And I think that just helps drive that trust that Harry's talking about. Like, and then also the other thing that's worth doing is even when they say, yes, we're in, husband and wife, both in, love it. Like we're in. Yeah, send me the invoice, Harry. Send me the contract. Yeah, and that's all happened. And we're still a week down the line and that's not been signed and paid. Problem. What me and Harry are now establishing as a group, as a team, is then coming to that client saying, hey, listen, we've done a whole bunch of pre-prep work as part of the project. We need to talk about it through just to ensure it's right. And we also want to talk about the overall strategy we're running because we've made some tweaks to it.
Yeah.
That's worth doing because then they feel compelled to get on a call. And then when you get them on a call, you can say, oh, by the way, can you, whilst we're on this call, just sign that electronic contract and pay the Stripe invoice that we've sent you or the
Yeah.
PayPal invoice, that helps. But
Yeah.
it is a cat and dog game, man. Like,
It is. I think you just have to be switched on and just not be emotional about it. Like I've had some people message me where they've shown me the screenshot they've sent, and it's like this person's ghosted him for a week, and they've sent him a message that's gone like, "Oh, you're obviously wasting my time," and he's thrown his toys out of the pram, and it's like, just relax. Like 9 times out of 10, they're not just being weirdos and ignoring your messages. They're just so busy. They need more time, and it's just getting you at the right time. So just give them the opportunity, but just stay on them and just like I said, like Tom said, just get them back on a call to discuss it in a different light. So if you've left it long enough, like if it has been 3 weeks since they've been ghosting you, you're gonna have to get them on a call again and go through the strategy and just start the process again. Like it's no good just chasing invoice after invoice. Just treat it like a human being. That's the best piece of advice.
I completely agree.
Cool. Okay, guys. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you tomorrow for the next video.